Why does nothing feel fun anymore? We love to point our fingers at evil companies for stealing our attention, making us scroll again and again, feeding us TikTok clips as our main source of information, and then we wonder why everything feels so shallow. But it's not depth in stories that's missing, it's perspective in us. We've been conditioned to see everything through the same blurry lens. We consume so much, so fast, we literally become NPCs, never stopping to notice what's actually there. So in this video, I just want to flip that lens. I'm gonna show you common moments in media and a few lines you've definitely overlooked from an angle that hits deeper than any highlight reel. Stuff that no school, lecture hall, or any other surface level take will ever teach you. So let's start with Vinland Saga. We follow Thorfinn, a boy who wants to avenge his father by killing Askeladd. After 10 years of chasing revenge and failing, he ends up a slave on a farm. He tries to live in peace, but King Canute decides to invade that very farm. And this is where the infamous "I have no enemies" line gets plastered all over social media. Now, when I say that, it might sound like I hate the line, but that's not true at all. In fact, I love it so much that it hurts me to see it thrown around like recycled garbage. But the problem is, when you keep seeing this line out of context, you forget what came right before it, which is even more important. Have you even tried talking? See, when Canute came to Ketil's farm, they never actually talked. Before Canute even arrived, Ketil was already preparing to fight based on what he assumed. So what happens? Canute shows up and says, "Give me the farm or die." His men stand ready, they kill a few people, and then Canute goes, seems like they're resisting. Guess I have no choice. Or, as Thorfinn would put it, they saw swords drawn and drew theirs. That's it. So when Thorfinn finally steps in and actually talks to Canute, he convinces him to leave. That's what this moment is really about. The fight didn't necessarily happen because people were evil. It happened because they didn't open their mouths. No talking, no understanding, just swords. And at this point, I want to shift away from this story for a second and talk about what we can actually learn from this, because that's the whole point of this video, right? Think about it. How often do we feel disrespected or hurt because of what other people said or did? And instead of just asking or trying to really understand, we jump straight to assuming they hate us or they're out to get us. And it's not just about other people. We do the same thing with ourselves. We decide we can't do something or that we're not cut out for it. We don't even have any proof. We just give up before we've even given it a shot. And that's why it's not just have you even tried talking, it's bigger than that. It's have you even tried. But let's come back to have you even tried talking, because here's the thing. There are so many moments in our daily lives where our mind convinces us that someone's secretly against us. So every normal word they say, you hear it as an insult. Once you have that mental image of what someone's like, it's so easy to find proof in everything they do. And the craziest part, we don't see people or the world as they really are. We see them how we want to see them. Now, if what I'm saying feels too abstract, let me show you. Look around your room right now and count how many brown things you can see. No, like actually do it. Okay, so now tell me, how many red things did you count? Probably none, right? Because you were so focused on the brown. And that's exactly what we do with people we don't like. You're so focused on finding proof that they're bad or evil that you completely ignore anything good. You look for the worst in every word they say just to fit that negative picture you already painted in your head. And of course, you find it. And while you're busy hunting for the brown, you miss all the red that was there the whole time. And at this point, I should have just used red and green and compared those two colors, as in green flag and red flag, but now it's too late, so whatever. You're basically collecting evidence to validate your own story. Someone asks you a normal question and you're convinced they're just trying to make you look stupid. You think that their tone is condescending, that they're secretly looking down on you. Or in relationships, you start picking apart every little thing, looking for proof that your partner doesn't actually love you, just so you can confirm that negative story you keep telling yourself, that you're unloved and always the victim. And it doesn't always mean you hate them. Sometimes it's just because we want to dump our fears onto someone else, to find a scapegoat, someone to blame for why we're so unhappy. And that same dynamic, it's exactly what you see in one way or another with Canute and Ketil. They don't talk. They just drew swords, and once they did, they kept finding proof that the other was the enemy. And let's just pause for a second, because if you're still here and about to comment, this isn't what happened, yeah, I know, but I know. If you've seen Vinland Saga Season 2, you know this wasn't some big misunderstanding. Canute wanted Ketil's farm, plain and simple. He didn't care what Ketil said. He was going to take it either way. It wasn't revenge, it wasn't confusion. It was pure selfishness. It was, I want that farm, give it to me or die. But here's the thing, that actually proves my point, because communication, actually talking, is always the first step. And if that fails, you have to move on, because not everyone is confused or hurt. Sometimes people are just selfish. When you break it down, evil is just selfishness. We love to say stuff like, only hurt people, but that's not the whole truth. Selfish people hurt too. And when you run into someone like that, digging for the root of their pain or childhood trauma won't fix anything. There will be times when talk no jutsu doesn't work. Still, you will see some characters stick to it because they're too weak to handle the fact that some people won't change. But more on that later. So sometimes people are just selfish, and that's it. And even if there is a deeper reason, it's like Nobara said in JJK, sure, you might have a messed up past, but that's not an excuse to be a horrible person. It's crazy how people skip lines like that and only remember the hype moments. But whatever problems they have, that's on them. Their mental issues, their trauma, that's their responsibility, not yours. What happened to them might be sad, but honestly, I don't care. At this point, I want to talk about what holds so many people back from taking a stand and clinging on to words long after they've stopped working. Like I said earlier, a weak personality. And there's no better way to explore this than through Kaneki. In Tokyo Ghoul Chapter 62, there's this moment where Kaneki is forced to choose who should live, the mother or the child. And as frustrating as this scene is, Kaneki can't choose. So instead of Jason picking for him, both die. The question is, why couldn't he choose? This is what makes Tokyo Ghoul so different from so many other stories. It digs deep into identity, kindness, and trauma, but not in a cliche, this is good and this is bad, time for a more lecture way. No, it does it through Kaneki, especially his fight between selflessness and self-respect. Compare him to Yuji from JJK or almost any other shonen protagonist for that matter. Kaneki isn't some loud but stupid or overpowered but simple-minded guy. He doesn't fit the usual tropes. He just feels human. He's the kind of person you'd see sitting alone on the bus and not some chosen one. He even said it himself, I'm not the protagonist of a story. If there were a story about me, it would be a tragedy. And what makes him special, as I'll further display, is that he shows us the struggles we think only we have, the ones we don't like to admit out loud. But let's get to the actual scene I want to talk about. In chapter 62, we see Kaneki's backstory through a conversation with Rize, right after he's been tortured over and over by Jason. As we travel through Kaneki's memories with Rize, we end up at a scene where he performs for a school play. Quote, I said I knew the story in this play, and everybody just said, do it. And while this scene doesn't say much on its own, put into context, it becomes a prime example for Kaneki's main flaw. Quote, you couldn't refuse? It was the entire class telling me that, so I couldn't really refuse. Kaneki couldn't say no, he submitted, he always did. It's this flaw that makes Kaneki so powerful as a main character. Oftentimes, we try to be nice and agreeable. We sacrifice our own desires just to be liked. We give in to other people's idea of fun just to feel accepted and validated. Like when your friends invite you to see a movie you don't actually care about, but they're so pushy you just can't refuse. Even though Hide is his only real friend, you see Kaneki constantly just going along with whatever Hide suggests, or to eat, what to do, who to hang out with. And this isn't necessarily wrong or a bad thing, but it's what indicates just how deeply rooted his passivity is. Even with his best friend, he avoids any micro conflict. And while those are small, harmless moments, when you raise the stakes and drop this mindset into a world like Tokyo Ghoul, what you get is a tragedy. He couldn't say no to Rize and ended up a ghoul. He couldn't say no to Jason, couldn't believe in himself, and thus ended up where he is now. It's exactly because Kaneki is pushed to an extreme level that we see how far our own people-pleasing can really go. In the same chapter, we find out exactly where this weakness comes from. Kaneki grew up as a fatherless only child, which had immense consequences on his character as a whole, but this video is too short to dive into this now. His mother in his books were all he had, and in his eyes, she was the kindest person in the world. She worked long hours every day, always tired but never complained. No matter how much she struggled, she still said yes to everyone. The biggest burden was her own sister, Kaneki's aunt, who always demanded money, and Kaneki's mother gave it to her again and again. It didn't matter if she barely had enough to eat or if she never got to rest. What mattered was avoiding conflict, never saying no, and not hurting anyone. She'd rather suffer herself than make someone else suffer. Selflessness. Ironically, the complete opposite trait of selfishness. Pure good. To Kaneki, that was what it meant to be a good person. The key phrase being, I never saw her rest. She was a part-timer at day, a cleaner at night, and whatever free time she had, she used working from home. His mother couldn't choose what to sacrifice, just like Kaneki couldn't choose between the mother and the child. And so she made her own child suffer, and eventually her kindness is what killed her. Quote, if she just ignored your annoying sister, she wouldn't have worked herself to death. Overworked. It wasn't even an illness. She was simply just overworked. Her so-called selflessness inflicted the most pain onto Kaneki. And here's the thing. We do the same, trying to say yes to everything, trying to please everyone. We see it as noble. We think it's good. We tell ourselves, I'm just avoiding conflict and I'm a good person. But at what cost? Quote, it's fantastic that you're so kind. It's the reason you ended up like this. There are times when you have to protect something, even at the cost of something else. Your mother couldn't do that. Just like Kaneki trying to save both, he ended up losing both. What we need to realize is your yeses mean nothing if you can't say no. And it's not just Kaneki, it's us. It's literally every second person. A 2022 study found that around half of adults, about 49%, self-identify as people pleasers. So yeah, it's not just Kaneki's problem, it's every second person you meet. Quote, that is not kindness. She was merely weak. She didn't have the strength of resolution to abandon one of you. In choosing both, losing both. For the sake of a good cup of coffee, we pluck out the ones that are trash. You've got it, Kaneki. To live is to consume others. And even though it sounds selfish, Kaneki's situation shows us she's right. He's not just unlucky, he's responsible. In fact, this all started because you were an ignorant idiot. You got tricked by me, tampered with by the doctor, and turned into a monster. This is all your fault. It was his choices that created the situations that led up to this mess. In the bigger picture, it might seem like bad luck, but really, it's a lack of strength to respect himself and put himself above others. Because whether you like it or not, the more you please people, the more you get used. Not because people are evil, but simply because they respond to what you allow. There is no such thing as bad luck, only situations combined with other situations. And who is the one creating those situations, huh? And that's the truth we don't want to admit. Avoiding conflict doesn't make you selfless, it just makes you weak. Weakness dressed up as kindness. But we need to ask ourselves, are we truly good because we choose not to, or are we good because we're too weak to do evil? And I could go on and on about this, but for the sake of conciseness, I want to mention another issue, which is oftentimes we think that this is just the way we are. We can't change it. We tell ourselves we were born that way, when that's simply not true. We use authenticity as an excuse to stay in our comfort zone, and Code Geese shows us just that. Whenever people talk about Code Geese, they think about the Zero Requiem or the insane mind games. What most people forget is what the whole mask thing really means, and especially what it means for you. Lelouch is a supposedly dead Britannian prince, living under a fake identity. He wants revenge on his father, the king who let his mother get assassinated, and then threw him and his sister away like they were nothing. He exiled them to Japan, and then, just to make it worse, started a war with the very country he dumped them in. Now, the lines everyone remembers are things like, the only ones who should kill are those who are prepared to be killed, or if the king doesn't lead, how can he expect his subordinates to follow? And again, good lines, but they make us forget a deeper theme that hits its climax in turn 25. For context, Lelouch loses everything, his army, his friends, and his goal. He traps himself with his father in a different realm, basically a double suicide attempt. There he learns the king's plan, to create a world without lies or masks, and Lelouch, the biggest liar in the entire show, looks him dead in the eye and says, "People wear masks." But Is that a sin? Lelouch wears the mask of Zero for the world, the mask of a lazy student at school, and the mask of the caring brother at home. And that line hits because when you look at your own life, you realize we do the same thing. But here's what we need to get clear. There's a big difference between the mask you don't even know you're wearing and the one you pick on purpose. The mask most people wear by default is the one that wants to be liked. It wants to be accepted. It's agreeable, harmless, and polite. The version of you that goes with the flow just to keep everyone happy. The problem is, when you're not aware it's a mask, you can't ever take it off. You think that's your real self, but it's not. It's just your survival mode. Zero's mask, on the other hand, is nothing like that. Zero is the mask Lelouch chooses, a mask he puts on to reach a goal. Once you see the mask you've been wearing by default, you can finally step out of it and choose one that actually serves you. In Jungian psychology, this is called the persona, the mask you wear to survive, to be accepted, to fit in. Whether you call it a mask, your persona, or just your comfort zone, it's what tries to be harmless, agreeable, and quote-unquote real. But deep down, it's just an act you forgot you were playing. And if you're not aware of it, the mask consumes you. You end up like Kaneki. He stayed true to his mother's "it's better to be hurt than to hurt others" mask, thinking that made him good. But it's what destroyed him. So, should we wear masks or not? That might sound like a contradiction, but the answer is this. First, be aware you're wearing one. And then second, choose one on purpose. Don't let your old mask, your fears, or your comfort zone pick it for you. Quote, I've seen it over and over. The people who struggle against sadness, those who wish for happiness, they all carry on. Human nature is why I chose geese and to wear a mask. It's not about lying to be fake. It's about picking the mask that helps you survive the world you're in, the one that moves you closer to your goals. So in practice, what does this look like? It means you stop pretending you don't care when you actually do. You stop saying yes to things you hate just so people will like you. You stop acting harmless and agreeable around everyone because you're scared of conflict. Instead, you pick your masks on purpose. Maybe you need a calm and patient mask when you're with your family, but a confident and assertive one at work. Maybe a more playful one with some friends, and a more honest, vulnerable one with the people who truly earn it. You don't just wear one face your whole life, because that's how you end up pleasing everyone and being used. The point is, you choose the mask, so your fears or the world don't choose it for you.